How's your first Apex SEMA in the new role, GM, Shop-Ware?
It's been going really well. Luckily, in the first 2 days, I've had the opportunity of being at both shows, which is not standard for me. Typically, I kind of pick one and go with it. But yesterday I was over at SEMA. Today I was over at Apex. It is great. I mean, being able to meet so many different customers, show off some of the new products, do sneak peeks at some of the things that we've been working on, and then also just get a chance to see so many people face to face, because I feel like I've been in Zoom meetings for the last decade.
Yeah.
And even you and I mean, we talked 3 months ago. It was summer,
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, being able to catch up with you, and, later I'm sure I'll see some of the other folks from your organization when we party all night long. So I'm trying to save it up. And like I told you before, run it on caffeine.
Yeah. You might want more because Lucas will be there. And yeah, he's had 5 energy drinks today. So watch out.
Seems like a light day for him.
Oh, yeah, light. Yeah. If you're not tired here, you're not doing anything. Yeah. This is my first one. Have you been here before?
Yeah, so this is the 4th.
Okay.
So I've been at.
You're a seasoned vet.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I'd say seasoned, because I hung out with many individuals today that they told me this was their 27th in a row or something like that.
Founding father.
No doubt about that. There's plenty of people that have way more experience than I do, but it's been good to see the change, because when I first came into the velo side of things, I was really just over a couple of our products, and to be able to see the growth, of the shows. And then also, by the way, we went through a pandemic in 2020, and this whole thing was virtual, right? Like we did Joe's Garage virtually, and then we kind of came back in person, and it was all masks. And
so do you count your first year as 2019?
2020.
So 2020 was your first, but it wasn't here.
No, it was
so
virtual.
This is your third. No, this is your 4th in person.
5th
total.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're getting up there, but no, just to see. And the other thing and I talked about this actually, which is funny, with Lucas and David when I was over at Ratchet and Wrench in Orlando not too long ago, is same faces, new places. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You all just kind of hop around.
I think that I like the fact that, though, people are really good about it. They're really honest about their transition. So literally, I won't name names, but we literally just had somebody that is that announced that they were leaving, going to another company here in Aftermarket here relatively soon. They did an awesome job. Just like, I'm going to be transparent. This is the next phase of my career. I need to have this on my resume to really grow and move up. And it's not a competitor to you guys, but I understand that there's some hard feelings around me leaving, and I know the product so well, but I think the way that a lot of the folks do it here is very respectable. It's not like you typically see a booth and somebody maybe that you formerly worked with or was at another, and you look at that person and you go, that person did it the wrong way. Whereas when I was on the franchise side of things, that always happened. It was, got to do its best for you, and at the same time, like, I don't care if I really burn some bridges on the way out. So I got to respect the way that the Aftermarket keeps partnerships up and lifelong friendships, lifelong networking. I was at a meeting earlier today where I was in a room with, I don't know, maybe 6 other people, a few that work with us at Velo, and a few that work at a data company. And these were folks that knew each other from the early 2000s that were working at different companies, and now we're trying to figure out how to partner. So the ability to have that connective tissue, I think, has just been really valuable, especially for a guy like me who came from the franchise side. And, 4 years later now, I'm still trying to, kind of grapple with, how does Aftermarket connect? How do we make sure that we're doing the best by our customers? And having that type of, domain knowledge around it and seeing how this place has changed has really been helpful.
Do you think this industry takes the transparency for granted? Because I hear that all the time too. There is just so much transparency. There's so much community. And do you think that's because you came from something where that wasn't a deal? Like, is that something we take for granted?
No, because I think we'd speak to it all the time. And I also think that there would be, well, to set the context for that, the way the market is shifting is much more, lot more competition, right? So if I look at even when I started 4 years ago, they were the former leaders of the industry that had the market, the lion's share of the market, right? 30,000 plus customers and even above that. And then few disruptors came in, but they were largely seen as, kind of like, there's one of these every, 5 years, every 10 years. Now, there's a lot of parity within the products and the customer operations. There's a lot of parity within the technology that's happening with partnerships and integrations. So I think the fact that the competition has sort of, to probably use an anecdote that's used a lot, the raise all ships, right? Rising tide. The fact that everyone's been getting better and there are less, let's call it disruptors out there because we've built such a strong aftermarket. I think that we recognize it's important for us to continue that stewardship of the transparency, of the trust, of the, just ability to network and work with each other. It's way more than I saw on the franchise side.
So you even think that's within shop management systems? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Work together well?
I think that we all respect each other first and foremost. Like there's been some awesome things. Like I'll say it that some of our competitors are the best products that I've seen out there, compared to ours, obviously. And the way that we're approaching it is a lot different too, right? We have 6 shop management products, right? Shop-Ware is just the most recent one that's come into the ecosystem. And it's an awesome product, but we also have a product that fits really well in the tire market. We have an awesome product that fits really well in the buy here, pay here reconditioning market. So the ability to recognize, I think, where we meet the customer is really important to us. Competition is going to do what they're going to do, but as we kind of said a number of times, there's a lot of business out there.
Oh yeah,
whether it's for us or for our competitors or anyone else, and we're just trying to find that solution that matches perfectly with them.
So when you see a competitor do something successfully, mm-hmm. they try something new, you're not jealous. You're happy for them.
I think the only thing I'd be myself, and this is probably a little bit too insightful at this point for myself and self-reflective.
Yeah, we're getting deep here, man. It's like therapy.
So I'm like product marketing at heart. Like that is my passion. That's what I did for a really long time. And when I see a competitor campaign where they just absolutely land the plane on a new product release or a new partnership, new feature release, and they do something really creative as opposed to just the old, okay, here's our press release, here's our talking notes, and maybe here's an image, right?
Yeah.
They do something really creative. That's probably the only time I feel jealousy because I'm like, God, man, that was
why did
so
I think
awesome.
about that?
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably the only time that I feel, jealousy. But I think we're also all coming together now to try and solve bigger problems, right? It's not necessarily anymore about the feature wars of you have to have DVI or you have to have this widget or you have to have this add-on because those will come and go. It's the solving bigger issues of how are we actually helping the businesses grow and grow along with them. That's been more apparent now than even, when I started a few years ago.
Yeah. I want to talk about the Shop Hero Awards, but I'm curious because there's so many shop software management systems that are using AI now. What's your feeling around AI? What's the future with Shop-Ware? How's that all like?
Yeah,
in your mind?
What a good question, especially this week. I feel like it's been front and center
everywhere.
In just about every.
It's
probably in many of your conversations as well. So the one thing that we're trying not to do is maybe the best way to approach it first, which is we're not trying to just check the box, right? I think there's a lot of really interesting, integrations and partners out there that allow you to simply say, we work with AI or we work with machine learning or however you want to position it. And while it would be great to check that box and make it part of our story, I think we want to do something that's a little bit more impactful, just, kind of referencing what I had talked about previously. So, some of the things that we're working on, not to spill the beans entirely, but I think that there's some really interesting data plays and there's some really interesting consumer behavior trends and integrations that exist out there right now that we're starting to do some proof of concepts, some prototypes with, just to kind of see how it lands, with our customers. And actually, one thing we were talking about today that I think is actually really awesome is we've coordinated our first ever in-person cross-functional customer advisory board that's going to be happening in person here in January. So we have 15 customers that represent 8 different products in aftermarket for us, for Velo, and some of them are single location, some of them are 130 plus location, but we're bringing them all together and we're going to basically have a 3-day brainstorming session, working session think tank session on how can we actually bring something to market featuring AI or featuring machine learning that moves the needle for you, as opposed to just, hey, here's this new chatbot that we have that has some AI capability behind it, right? We don't want to do that. So we're probably going to have a lot more to share on that here in Q1, I'd say.
So are you using AI right now?
So AI right now, in Shop-Ware specifically, yes, we are. So we have something called the AI parts matrix, which is essentially a way to automatically identify margin within your parts, out as a shop owner in this case, to help you identify that, to essentially grow that margin and understand opportunities for specific parts that you order. That's one thing that we really wanted to make sure that we had released. And this is probably a year ago, I would say. We talk about it a lot at our conferences and a few other places that we have. The other thing that I think is really interesting, we represent a product as well called Tire Guru. They just released, as part of the new product showcase, their tire price optimizer, TPO we call it, just because we're obviously very original and creative. And the idea behind that is essentially analyze market data for tires and then use machine learning on the back end to adequately price your tires for higher margin. So, because I think most cases, a lot of tire shops will look at their pricing and say, this is probably pretty good, but we don't really know. We base it off wholesale in a lot of cases, right? Or whatever the wholesale distributor is sending out there. So the ability for them to actually see in their system what others in the market are pricing their tires and then give recommendations for that margin, super helpful to the dealer or to the customer in this case that might not know otherwise and has no context of it in the market.
So, Shop Hero Awards. So this is my first Apex. This is also my first year around the sun in the automotive industry. So if the Shop Hero Awards have been going on for 25 years, I wouldn't know it. So you tell me what Shop Hero Awards are. And I know you guys were involved with the Customer Champion. Mm-hmm. So, and this is actually happening. We're recording on Wednesday, November 6th. And you're literally going to end this recording and go give out the award.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me about, what all this Shop Hero Awards mean for the industry.
Yeah. So for the last 3 years, we've always done a Wednesday night customer appreciation event, customer and partner appreciation event. And it's typically been very small, private, intimate, 30 some people. We used to hold it at Mott 32, which is a restaurant in the Palazzo. And it took off. Like, people were looking forward to it every year because it's basically the happy hour before everybody goes off to their dinners, before they go to the 360 payments party, etc. So what we ended up doing last year is a little bit of a change of pace. Is we said, why don't we hand out some awards at this, since we have so many customers that have been raving about their experience with us. So we actually had it just once. Like, the awards, the cocktail reception / happy hours happened a few years. But last year we called it actually the Garage Hero Awards. So a little bit of a rebrand, but for good purpose. And I'll talk about that in a second. So last year we just did the Garage Hero Awards, and it was only Shop Boss, actually, which is another company that's under our kind of ecosystem of shop management systems. And then when we joined in with Shop-Ware in March of this year, we said, I think we have a huge opportunity here to really expand the visibility on the shop customers and their impact in the market. So this year we actually decided to diversify it. And we have 5 total awards. We have the Breakthrough Business Award, which is by Shop Boss, sponsored by Shop Boss. We have the Elite Entrepreneur, which is by Protractor Enterprise MSO. Sales Superstar, which is through Tire Guru. And then the one that is probably the top of the hour, and the one that's the most actually important for us because it's peer recognized, is the actual Shop Hero Award. So that was sourced from, we have over 8,000 shops in our ecosystem right now, and we sent out surveys to every single one of them asking, who is your shop hero? Is it somebody that works the front counter? Is it somebody that works in the back? Is it a technician? Is it an owner? Is it a partner? And we ended up getting over 300 responses. And I mean, even just off that is pretty impressive. But not only were these responses just like, hey, here's a name and a phone number. It was these, 600-word diatribes about how impactful these people were, not only to the business, but also to the community. And I know, Braxton, you were just showing me on one of our publications. But
we're looking at the same article.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I got to make sure I get these exactly right. So, the press release came out, yesterday. We typically try to do that to build a little bit of interest, and then it's already got some of the names in there. But we'll do the formal introductions and give everybody a chance to give a little bit of a speech tonight. It's relatively informal. It's a chance for us to meet up with our most impactful customers. We have a lot of partners that go to the event, including Changing the Industry. And then you guys will follow us right over to the 360 party and then right over the Promoted party. So it's a good chance for us to recognize those in the industry that we're so proud of, and put the spotlight on them just for the night, because typically we don't get a chance to see them in person all that often.
Yeah. Well, this is really cool. So, a lot of people like to highlight things in the community, in the industry, and that's super important. What does this mean? Because I think sometimes some organizations treat stuff like this as, like you mentioned before, a check the box kind of deal. Oh, we get to highlight somebody. Yay. But I don't think that's the motive for you guys. You care about the industry and you want to highlight the good people in it. What does that mean for the industry? Because I think it's so good to do that.
I think it's a shift of, whether it's customer perspective or even product development that has largely always been in the, sort of tunnel vision of startups, founders, et cetera. And those have been very, integral parts of the aftermarket. But I think now the recognition that there are so many well-educated, well-seasoned voices and some that are up and coming, right? Some that have, come from other industries and are prime for, creating success in the aftermarket as well. But I think the ability for us to really highlight them and have our, I'll sort of call it the guardians of the customer voice hat on for understanding what are our customers asking for and really what helps them push their businesses to the next phase, right? Are they a 100 car shop a month? Are they a $60,000, revenue shop a month? Are they $1 million shop? We have that entire spectrum. And that's why, I kind of talk back to the customer advisory board thing that I talked about just a few minutes ago, because sure, we could bring in our biggest customers, right? Those that drive millions of dollars in revenue every year. But I don't necessarily think that it would give us total visibility into what we need to build to be successful or the type of customer operation team that we need. So we bring in the single location owner operator that's been on one of our products for 4, 5, 10 years. We bring in the 10 location that just got private equity investment and is ready to expand to 20 locations next year. We bring in the 150 location enterprise that has, franchise stores. They have a kickoff, they have a process, they have a corporate team, they have marketing, they have everybody you could ever imagine. So understanding that spectrum and how important it is exactly why we highlight them as part of these awards.
So what I'm hearing at this show is it's kind of like a reunion for industry people, but it's also kind of the cap to the year because people go back home and it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, and so you get to kind of take a breather, not travel quite as much for a little while. So what are you hearing at the event, people you talk to in all these meetings, what's next for Shop-Ware and what's next for the industry? That's kind of, because, so many things happen at these events when people get into meetings and brainstorm and think about the future, and stuff changes in the industry because of events like this. So what are you hearing that's coming up?
Yeah, I would say, the two things, let's say one is sort of market perspective and then one is sort of product perspective. I would certainly say on the market perspective side of things, there's a lot of M&A acquisition talk, right? Some of it involving, new and upcoming providers, some of it, talking about different partners or mergers. There were a couple mergers just announced recently, Steer, Auto Ops, Techmetric, Shop Genie. That were super interesting. So I think that you're starting to see more of those, like, how do we start creating platforms within different disciplines or cross-functional components? So that piece has been a thread that's been pulled through, is like, hey, if I don't get on the train, is it going to leave the station without me? So do I need to, hitch my wagon to another product in order to make our offering more valuable, more powerful, right? So that's one. And then on the, product side of things, certainly AI. I mean, I think we covered enough on that already, but there's a few really interesting companies that I met with this week that have, really unique perspectives on how to run analytics, on how to analyze consumer behavior. And I think now we're getting into a phase, especially with AI, of less information overload and more practical application. Like, how are we going to take this from the term that I hate, but is used so much of like the big data, like you have all the data you could ever want now. Well, if I'm a single owner operator of a shop in Madison, Wisconsin, the last thing I want to think about is big data.
Yeah.
Like that sounds so complicated and sophisticated for what my role should be in my business. So how can we get the practical application of that to the point where it's actually helping?
You done anything fun this week?
Am I doing anything fun? Man.
Have you or will you?
Oh, well.
I mean, we're in Vegas, man.
Well, yes and yes. Also, 5 nights in Vegas, a lot of nights in Vegas. I've had a couple really good, events so far. Velo had a kickoff event with all of our people that are here. We brought 60 plus people across 10 different products, had a dinner, and you just seen people that I hadn't seen in over a year. That's always really nice. Had a customer dinner last night with one of our biggest customers and got a chance to be really intimate with them and talking about the future and what the roadmap looks like. And we're actually going to be visiting them on site here in a few weeks. And then just looking forward to tonight. I was telling you earlier, I went to bed early last night because I was definitely anticipating the energy needed for the three, we'll call it the triad tonight of the awards, the 360 party, and the Promotive party.
The three-headed monster.
The three-headed monster, which is awesome because, and to your point, I just remembered that I should probably answer the question specifically about Shop-Ware in terms of what's coming. And the reason this triggered my memory is the Promotive party tonight. Promotive's founder, Lisa Coyle, formerly of 360 Payments, one of my good friends. She's basically taken that template for 360 Payments for the party and saying, we can do this even better and say, instead of just a 360 party, why don't we have a 6-hour party? So it's been working out. But the one thing that I saw yesterday is she got sent a video of Shop-Ware's new service scheduler. So this is something that we're starting to dip our toe into in terms of how do we interact B2C, so shop with customer, let's call it consumer in this case, to bring appointment openings into the consumer-facing website and then send those back into the shop management system with an appointment, with details about the appointment, with service selection, with deferred services. So a lot of interesting stuff happening there. That is on show at our booths at Apex and SEMA, and then we're going to do a soft launch of it in January.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me again. It was great to talk to you, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you tonight.
Absolutely. Hey, if you're still here, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Automotive Repair News Today. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment, like, share, subscribe to the podcast. That'll help us out a big deal and help grow the show. And you know what? While you're at it, slap on a review too if you feel like this content is helpful for the industry. Don't forget to follow us on all your favorite social media platforms. We're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Stay connected and be the first to know about new episodes, behind-the-scene content, and more. And until next time, let's make the industry better together.